Well, hello. Welcome to Drawing with Fire. I am Valarie, your neighborhood pyrography artist, here to help guide you on your burning adventures. We're going to get started with a quick, just 15-second recap of the live show where we started and ended, and then we're going to jump into the burning. If you missed the live, I'll leave a link in the iCard, and you can watch the first live where we worked on the book. Now here I am starting off with the Optimum 1 dual burner spear shader flat, and I'm trying to get a even burn, light burn, because this is where the light is hitting part of the book, so it is lighter. And I'm set on, I believe, a 3, and I'm trying to just burnish down the wood so that the grain is a little more even when I go over it with a hotter heat. I'm also trying to blend out my darker burns, which I will say I felt I went in too heavy, too dark, too quickly, and I should have worked up to that with a little more finesse and nuance to it, because as you can see, the wood is kind of grabbing the tip. It's leaving splotches where I don't want it. It's not the kind of texture that I'm looking for the book. So right now I'm just trying to smooth everything out, and I do work on this for quite a while. At one point you'll see that I have to bring out sandpaper because I am not happy with it. I switched in between my 4, actually all 5 of the burners at one point. Spoon shaders, flat shaders, trying to find the tip that really worked for me. And it took a little while for me to get there, but I ended up using the Optimum 1 spear shader the most. The Burn Master was good, Spoon Shader was good for larger areas. Now it looks like I didn't work on this very long and I was really going quickly. I actually spent another 2.5 hours working on trying to get the even 3D burn that I'm looking for the book. In the end, I'm still not happy with it. And here's the good thing though. As I put in other areas of the burn, the ink bottle, the box, and the feather, I will have to go back and work on the book to darken areas that may look dark now, but once I put in more of the detail, like the ink bottle is dark, the book is going to come out lighter. And so I have to get that balance. So the book is not completely done. There will be more burning to it. Now some of my straight edges are not as straight as I'd like. So here I've grabbed a mirror, I've got it flipped so that you can't get the reflection of the light. But the mirror is glass, and glass can absorb a lot of heat, so I don't have to worry about it melting. One thing I do need to do is take a wet sandpaper and kind of sand the edges a little bit more, because I could feel it grabbing the tip. But it worked very well on kind of masking off the area that I don't want burned and getting that straight line. Now I didn't like the tip that I used. It was the rounded skew shader, or not shader, skew tip from Optima. It wasn't the tip's fault, it's just extremely sharp, and so it cut into the wood. So I only did a couple of those, but I did use that to my advantage later on in the video, where it won't burn as dark, and that helps when I'm trying to get the different shade colors of the book binding right on the edge of the spine. So that helps with my contrast on the shading and the high highlights. A lot of this video is just putting in the details and really trying to blend. Graphite and other media are really easy to blend in general, but once you burn that wood, it doesn't want to move because you burned it. So I'm trying to work up to the medium burns that would go between the highlights and your darkest shadows. And in the area of below the feather metal tip on the dip pen, I am not happy because I went in way too dark. I really should have taken my time Granted, I did it on the live, so I was really trying to get it done. This is where slowing down, taking your time, and paying attention really helps reduce the chance of error and having to go back and sand, which is just about to come up, because I am at this point working on it. I am so frustrated that I went in too dark, and I know better, and I still did it, and trying to blend everything out. So right now I switched my focus on just getting the base burning along the whole part of the book. Every part of it's going to be burned, even if it's so much lighter because of how the shadows are. It still needs to be burned. So now we're going to step into the sanding. I write the shadow right to the left of the box is too dark, and I start off with 220 grit because that's how I sanded my board originally. I'm not trying to take it all out, just really get as much as I can without damaging the wood. And then I went to 320 grit and then 400 in order to smooth the wood back out to how the rest of the wood is. Now, because I've damaged the wood even more by trying to remove most of the burning, I have to go in a lot lighter with my shading because the wood is going to burn differently. So my focus right now is really trying to go as light as possible. I think I turned the pins down to 2.5 because I really wanted to start off light. I'm burnishing. I'm trying to fade everything together. I did sand a larger area than I needed so that when I go to burn, everything kind of comes together better. I'm not having these lines of start and stops of where I burn, and then, oh, didn't like it, sand. But now we've got this defined line. Everything is more smoothed out. It means I have to go back and burn more, but the outcome of how the burn works a lot better, and you'll be a lot happier with it if you just burn a bigger area. So now that you see that part's lighter, I'm trying to blend the burn and get the wood a little darker under the feather, and it's not working the way I want it to. And so I'm going to have to turn around and sand again just where I went too dark for that shadow. I cannot get all of the burn off with just the sandpaper. I would actually have to kind of use dig it out a little bit, and I don't want to do that. Not for this piece. I do not want to dig into the wood. I want to keep it as even as I possibly can. So I'm removing as much, and I've kind of zoomed in so you can see better. You can see that darker burn that is still left is deeper, and I'm just not going to gouge the wood to get it out. I'm okay with that. I can blend. And so again, it's 220, 320, and then 400. After the 320, I used my Vanish 4-in-1 eraser to lift up the sanding debris and kind of clear it off so I can have a better view of how much I've dug into the wood with the sanding paper. Smoothing it out, again, even though some of that area has already been sanded, I went ahead and extended it so that everything would blend easier. And this way, when I go with either the spoon shaders or the spear, pointed shaders, this one, round shader by Colwood, it burns a little more even. I'm not getting as much of the darker burns and blobs. I am on low heat and building it up like I did the first area I sanded, but in doing this I'm a lot happier with how it turned out, and it was easier to blend and build up my darks. I think that's the biggest thing I could tell you. Start off light and build up. You can always go up. It's harder to bring it back down. So if you just take your time, I know that means more time. I can spend hours on one area trying to get it even, but in the end, I'm happier with my piece overall. If I would have left that burning, it just would have really bugged me, and I would have been trying to adjust everything else around it, and it just wouldn't have felt right. So I used the mirror with the flat shader, round shader, just so I didn't go over the line I didn't want to cross. And I did have the mirror flipped upside down. I have tape on it, so on two edges and the corners, so I don't cut myself. It didn't burn the tape. The heat was so low, I don't even think the tape noticed that it was getting heated up. So that wasn't a problem. And now it's just a matter of equaling out everything I want to. The whole base of the book is burned, and now we get to put in more of the details, more of the shading in the certain areas. The book does end up looking worn, and even though it's a brand new book, I think it adds to the still life that it looks a little more worn. I could have put at least another 2 hours into it, but knowing that I'm coming back to it and liking the fact that the book looks distressed, I was okay with stopping for now. In the second live that just happened, we worked on the ink bottle, and I had to do some sanding there too, because again, take your time. I think that's the biggest thing I need to stress. Take your time. It's not a race. Nobody's going to take the piece away from you. The more patience and time you put into the piece, the happier you're going to be with the outcome. People talk about how I get so much detail in my pieces, and that's taking time. I'm still trying to get used to the lives where I'm worried about time. I'm not wanting to waste anybody's time, so I'm going quicker than I should. And that's something I need to work on, is to slow down. If I don't finish something, that just has to be okay. I don't have to do everything all in one sitting. And thankfully, I have these awesome subscribers, you guys, who are very supportive and don't mind watching follow-up videos because I just didn't get something done. Now here I'm using the mirror again to just get that straight edge with the shading. It did help, but you're not going to see it as well. I will go back later and do it again, but after I sand down that mirror edge, because you can feel, you know, when glass isn't completely smooth, you can feel all the little pits inside. That's what my tip is bumping up next to, and I can feel it, and there's a little bit of drag. So I'm going to sand that mirror, or better yet, if you have any, you know, extra panes of glass from framing that is thinner, clear, and that way you can line things up better and tape the edges, that would work even better than the mirror that I've been using. Being able to see how everything is laid out while you're trying to put that straight line in makes it a lot easier, and you're less likely to have to go back and readjust your lines because they were a little off because you couldn't see everything and how it was connected. So definitely, if you have an extra piece of glass from framing, you could cut it down so that you're not wielding a 9 by 12 or bigger piece of glass. A $5 glass cutter at Michael's or whatever hobby stores close by works great to score the glass, break it, tape it off, but use the edge that you did not cut. That's how the glass is. Use that edge, use your straight edge. We're coming to the end of this speed burning. I want to thank all of our new subscribers. It's awesome. I'm happy to have you guys here. Don't forget to hit that like button, and if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. And as always, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you'd like to see in the future. Happy burning, guys. Bye.